in this particular venue. And so just to give a quick walk through the lay of the land, you're comfortable here. This is where we have launched this particular documentary. Time in the event that you'd like to, the ladies portable right after where we were having the breakfast, and for the gentlemen, it's past that one at the corner. So feel free to excuse yourself. I'd like to ask us to keep our phones on silent, but keep them on. Take the pictures that you would need to, videos to share back home or to the office, to your colleagues, because this is a Conservation Partners Forum, and many partners and stakeholders here who are very integral in implementing what will be shared here. DG will be up with a quick presentation that I'm sure you'll be keen to follow and you'll be able to digest as we continue with the program. So I think it's now a good time. I believe we have it on cue to ask us all to stand up for the first stanza of the national anthem, followed by the East African anthem, and then we can start with the word of prayer with our chaplain. We hold on? Okay. You want us, when a DJ would like us, excuse me, sorry, just keep it on hold, keep it on hold, keep it on hold. Samahani, I'm just asked, we can do it? All right, okay. So, national anthem, you can bring out your phones if you've forgotten the words and just do a quick lyric check, especially with the EAC anthem. Gives us all sometimes a reminder of the importance of Swahili, which is our national language. So, again, we can start. National anthem.
Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike, umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu.
You may have your seats, Asante Sana. I'd now like to call for a word of prayer to our chaplain, Brandad Emuria, KWS chaplain, for a word of prayer. If Sergeant Idris has joined us as we were singing the national anthem, please be on standby to follow.
Thank you, Mark. I'll make this a general prayer on behalf of our Muslim brethren also, in absence of our brother, Sergeant. Kindly arise for the prayer. Our help is in the name of the Lord, who made heaven and the earth, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Almighty and ever-living God, author of life and source of all goodness, we recognize your real presence in our midst. We extol your holy name for all the benefits we've received from your bounty, especially our natural treasures, wild flora and fauna. In your loving providence, O God, you've made the forces of nature subject to the work of our hands. Grant that by devotion to our own work, we may gladly cooperate with you in the building up of creation. Almighty and eternal Father, gathered here in this forum today are our distinguished conservation partners. These people of goodwill have responded positively to your call as responsible stewards in the light of the creation, the gospel of creation, by their dedication and commitment to promote wildlife conservation in Kenya. Holy, merciful, and provident Father, your Holy Bible is assuring us that God can give you what you desire and make all your plans successful. Psalms chapter 20, verse 4. Today, we dedicate to you our TSAVO ecosystem documentary film by Simon Trevor. May it teach our minds and touch our hearts so that we may keep the spirit of conservation more budding. Good Lord, you are the beginning, continuation, and the end of every event. We humbly implore your holy presence to grace this occasion, your unfailing mercy and unlimited blessings. Gracious Lord, bless our Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Tourism and Wildlife, Honorable Rebecca Miano. Grant her your gifts of wisdom, understanding, and good health, especially as she launches this documentary film. Everlasting Father, bless and guide and protect our Board of Trustees under the stewardship of Lieutenant General Retired Walter Raria Koipaton. May your spirit inspire and guide them always. Good Lord, we humbly beseech you to bless our Director General Professor Erastus Kanga and the entire senior management of Kenya Wildlife Service as they discharge their leadership and managerial mandate day by day. Dear Lord, may we all experience your peace and tranquility today and always. We make this prayer in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, your Son, who lives and reigns with you in the unity of the Holy Spirit, always one God, forever and ever. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Kindly, we may get seated.
Asante sana to our KWS chaplain, Bwana Brandard Emuria, and for standing in for Sergeant Idris. Now, with all protocols observed, we'd like to also acknowledge in the prayer, thereby chaplain, the support of the ministry, the parent ministry, tourism and wildlife, represented, of course, and led by Honorable Rebecca Miano, and also with PS, Principal Secretary, State Department for Wildlife, Sylvia Museya. I believe they've given us a go-ahead to get started in respect of our time, and we'll have good representation from Dr. Chumo, who will be with us and will be standing in place of that keynote remark and also the launch moment. But for some quick welcome remarks, I'd like to call on effectively our host, and that is Professor Erastus Kanga. Tafadhali, you could join us. Let's give him a hand as he comes up stage to give quick welcome remarks.
Thank you, Trevor. Good morning, everybody. Patty Awodi, I can see you there. Paula, I can see you there. Very great to see all of you here today. I was a little bit inclined not to read a speech, but because I've seen Melo teach, I will. Our chair of the board, General Retired Ladia Koipaton. We have our board members who are present, and at this point, allow me to recognize 3 new board members that joined KWS in the last 5 months. We have Madam Lecho Omoro, wave to the crowd. She brings in a wealth of from the tourism sector. We have Nancy Madenge. Nancy Madenge brings in a lot of legal minds into the KWS board. and we have Honorable Chachu, a veteran politician but a conservationist. Allow me to recognize a representative from the Office of the Deputy President. He should be here making some remarks. He'll get to us very soon. Our conservation, oh, there he is. Come in front. Your seat is reserved here. Our conservation partners and stakeholders, KWS senior management, and members of staff present, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to recognize our former director, Nehemiah Lotich. Nehemiah Lotich has stood the test of time, and I normally tell him, 24 years ago, he employed me in this organization. He's the one who gave the final approval. I was sent back to the National Museum of Kenya, but he refused. He said, I think Kanga can do better here. That's a message I got from Dr. Bagine. And I am happy, Nehemiah, that you stood your ground and I have grown in KWS to the apex. So thank you so much. Allow me now to give apologies from our cabinet secretary. I was with her yesterday in the mountain, and the presidential tour is so gruesome in the mountain, she was not let off, including our PAs. Our PAs is being represented by Chumoia, so we have to allow them, let them do the political and the national duty, and they are on the entrenage with the president. They could not come today because the president is in Meru County, and that is a county which is an HWC, Human Wildlife Conflict Hotspot. So there will be too many questions, and we felt that they need to be there to respond to the political questions that the politicians are going to be doing. Very shortly, because I will do a presentation, I want to say again good morning to all of you, and say that as I stand here, where mountains of ivory once went up in flames, I recall the ones of a great conservationist. When the last elephant falls, a part of humanity's source will die with it. And that is why we are all grown here. That we don't want any part of our humanity to go with the falling of the last elephant. And Simon Trevor will clearly demonstrate that that path is possible if we don't take concerted efforts. Today, that soul is fighting back and winning, but our victories remain fragile, ladies and gentlemen. The story of Kenyan conservation is being rewritten daily by the brave rangers in our parks, the scientists in our labs, and the communities on our front line, and last but not least, our partners like yourselves for always believing in our efforts. Just last month, Hairio Service confirmed an extraordinary milestone that TSAVO elephant population has surpassed 15,000 for the first time since 1973. From the dark days of poaching crisis to this remarkable recovery, we've proven what's possible when determination meets action. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot mistake progress for permanence. For every elephant calf born this year, there is a poacher snare waiting in the bush. For every rhino we've painstakingly relocated to Guria, there is a criminal network plotting to take their horns. The war for wildlife is far from won. It has simply entered a new phase. Over the past 1 year, we've moved the needle in critical ways. Our rhino program has become Africa's golden standard. The Nguria Sanctuary expansion has created safe passage corridors, resulting in 0 poaching incident last quarter. We've pioneered veterinary techniques that have reduced rhino translocation mortality by over 40%. Our rangers, the true heroes of this story, are now better equipped than ever before. We have built 500 new housing units, including tents, to boost their morale. Yet, I recently visited a Leisure outpost where 6 officers are still sharing a single 10 by 10 room. This is unacceptable, ladies and gentlemen. Technology has become our force multiplier. Health Rangers' real-time tracking has helped us intercept 17 poaching guns mint operation. Our new Rural One sensors reduced human-wildlife conflict near TSAVO villages by 30%. Fewer farmers losing crops and fewer elephants losing their lives. But here is the hard truth. We are operating at just 60% of the capacity required. For every drone we have, we need 3 more. For every ranger house we have built, 4 remains on the drawing board. The gap between what we've achieved and what we could achieve still remains vast. Our strategic plan that we started last year and will run us up to 2028 isn't just a document. It's a battle plan for species survival. The numbers tell the story. 500 security bases need to properly patrol our parks. 3,000 ranger housing units required to honor our protectors. $50 million necessary to secure the Nguria sanctuary vision. 100% tech coverage across all high-risk areas are required. These aren't abstract figures, ladies and gentlemen. They represent the difference between losing ground and getting it, between endangered species and thriving populations, between overwhelmed rangers and empowered protectors. The genius of this plan lies in its integration, connecting species protection to community benefits, tourism growth to technological innovations. Take Meru National Park. Upgrading Meru Mulikaya Strip isn't just about tourism. It's about creating economic alternatives to poaching and giving communities a stake in conservation success. Which brings me to why we are here today, ladies and gentlemen. Conservation has never been a solo mission. The TSAVO documentary we are launching today proves this. Every frame shows what's possible through partnerships. So here's my challenge to each one of you. To our corporate partners, adopt a ranger housing unit for about 1.5 million shillings, and we will put your name on the door of the home you are building for our protectors. To our tech partners, equip a command center with only Kenya shillings 50 million and help us bring Earth Ranger to every park. We require 14 of them. To our conservation NGOs, train 5,000 community scouts, the highs and years of our protected and conserved areas. To our tourism partners, invest in Meru and Sibiloi infrastructure and help us create Kenya's next great wildlife destinations. To all of us, invest in human-wildlife conflict mitigations to secure our coexistence with nature. This, ladies and gentlemen, isn't charity. It's the smartest investment any of us can make. Studies show that $1 invested in conservation yields $7 in economic returns. Our wildlife isn't just part of our heritage. It is the engine of our economy. As we watch TSAVO a moment in time today, let us remember we are living the next chapter of that story right now. The choices we make today in this room will determine whether future documentaries celebrate our foresight or lament our failures. 50 years from now, when children visit Nairobi National Park where we are sitting, what will they see? Will they marvel at thriving hunts of wildlife or read plaques about extinct species? The answer lies in our hands. The KWS team is ready, our rangers are ready, our communities are ready. The question is, as partners, are we ready? And I think the answer, I can see Pat smiling. Pat has been in the landscape for over 40 years. Pat, the answer is still yes. Let's make peace with nature. And we ask our partners to adopt projects, fund airstrips, fund rhino habitats, fund species recoveries, construct fences, and give us tech solutions. Let us innovate together. Let us co-design renewable energy solutions to our communities. Let us have our community-led enterprises up and running. Let us amplify our stories, and we share the Kenyans' wins with the world. Angela is good at that. And the Shendricks, they tell the story in a way that we get so many other inquiries. And Angela, we celebrate you and salute you for the work that you're doing in the TSAVOs and across Kenya. Conservation is not a cost, it is an investment. Every shilling spent yields returns in biodiversity, tourism, and global credibility. As I stand here, where ivory was reduced to ashes, I am reminded extinction is permanent, but so is a legacy. Let us leave a legacy of thriving ecosystems, empowered communities, and a Kenya where wildlife and people thrive and grow together. To our partners, today is the day to commit. Sign the pledge, join the working groups, and let us make peace with nature. Asanteni sana. Thank you. With those remarks, I hand over back to Trevor.
Thank you, Professor. You know, once a professor rebrands you, you can't quite contest it. It's Mark. But thank you to Professor Erastus Kanga for the opening remarks. There will be much more that we can digest in his presentation that will follow shortly. He did acknowledge the office of the Deputy President, and we have the representation here, and we really do appreciate the support for the ecosystem. Partners from far and wide are needed, and we can use as much support as we can get. And I like what Professor has said, that progress should not be mistaken for permanence. So we need to keep it going, and the clarion call has been placed to you, but I don't know if we got the brief. You probably should have responded, are we ready? Yes. Can do a bit better than that. Let the animals hear you here, the wildlife hear you. Are we ready? Yes. Last try. From the way back there, I can't hear you. Are we ready? Aya basi, asanteni sana. And now we are ready to hear from Deputy President's Office, represented by Secretary of Programs, International Development Coordination Unit, and that is Bwana Alan Mboro for quick remarks, and then we can go to the presentation. Tumpe makofi tafadhali. And as he comes up, there is also a live stream. We'd like to acknowledge those joining us online through the KWS YouTube page. And karibuni nyote, tuendele. You can share that. Just look KWS YouTube page. You'll see the live stream going on. You can share that with your colleagues.
Yeah. Thank you, Trevor. Yes. I think I'll just pick from where Trevor has just left, and also thank the Director General. I think he set a very high pace, so I think I hope I'll be able to cope with that pace. So the permanent secretary is Principal Secretary, State Department for Wildlife, the Chairman of KWS board members as well as the members, Professor Erastus Kanga, the Director General, Kenya Wildlife Services, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alan Mboro, just like Trevor has introduced me. I therefore wish to take this opportunity to thank Professor Erastus Kanga, the Director General, Kenya Wildlife Service, and his team for inviting the International Development Partnerships Coordination Unit under the Office of the Deputy President to participate during this very important event, dubbed Conservation Partners Forum in the calendar of KWS events. This event that brings together officials from the government of Kenya, development partners, and key stakeholders resonates deeply with the government's development agenda that recognizes wildlife as a national asset that supports key sectors such as tourism, economic growth, and biodiversity. Through the Kenya Wildlife Service, Kenya actively works to conserve wildlife through national parks, reserves, and community-based initiatives. The conservation of wildlife in Kenya is very important, with about 12% of Kenya's total landmass having some form of protection. However, the challenge of human-wildlife conflict negatively affects the conservation efforts. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, this forum serves as a strategic platform that brings together the government of Kenya, development partners, both bilateral and multilateral, as well as experts drawn from professional and civil society organizations to discuss and build consensus on areas of cooperation and collaboration that will promote conservation in its totality. The outcome of this assembly is, therefore, expected to influence not only Kenya's but also the global sustainability agenda in view of the challenges facing mankind. I trust this is equally a golden moment for KWS to call us all for action that aims at shaping the future of conservation and sustainable development. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is not lost on us that the planet is currently faced with the triple planetary crisis of diversity loss, climate change, and pollution. These existential threats are not only adversely affecting human populations, but also our wildlife. The convergence of experts here today, therefore, points at the need to apply practical approaches to tackle these threats. The government of Kenya remains committed to playing its active role in conservation efforts, with the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife spearheading the task of wildlife conservation, supported by our development partners. Furthermore, Executive Order number 3 of 2023 mandates the Office of the Deputy President through the International Development Partnerships Coordination Unit to coordinate the planning and supervise the implementation of development partners funded programs and projects. This mandate has been executed through a development partnership coordination architecture that is comprised of Development Partnership Forum, Development Effective Group DEG, the Cabinet Subcommittees, Development Partners Group DPG, non-state actors, and the joint sector working groups that were made reference to by Professor Kanga. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, this coordination framework has provided a good platform for political level dialogue as well as high-level policy and economic development. During the last DPF, Development Partners Forum, for instance, held in June 2024, it was agreed that a joint government and development partner mechanism be established to review identified challenges that have led to low absorption of development partners funds. The objective of the mechanism is to guide alignment with national development priorities as guided by the Paris Declaration on Aid Effectiveness. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the government of Kenya appreciates the impact of official development assistance, ODA, in Kenya provided by development partners to support the national development agenda. We have witnessed the transformation of lives and livelihoods by way of poverty alleviation, fostering economic progress, and enhancement of the quality of life for a significant proportion of the Kenyan population. It is in light of this that the government reiterates its commitment to enhance effective development cooperation in all sectors as guided by our Vision 2030 blueprint. Among the sectors receiving ODA support include environment and wildlife. The government therefore wishes to thank our development partners that have supported KWS in efforts directed towards combating wildlife crime in Kenya with a grant of 510 million shillings from USAID, supported by the government's counterpart funding of 50 million. I'm happy to report that through this partnership, the project is at 64% completion. However, following the U.S. executive action of suspending funding through USAID, it has been recommended that the Board of Trustees finances the remaining part of this project, while the government of Kenya continues to apply its diplomatic channels to mitigate the effects of this suspension. Another area that has received ODA support is that of combating poaching and illegal wildlife trafficking. The project is funded through a grant of 402 million shillings by UNDP and stands at 80% completion, having started on the 1st of July and is due to close on the 31st of December this year. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, challenges being faced in all the programs and projects jointly financed by Government of Kenya and our development matters are being addressed by the joint government and development partners mechanism earlier referred to. It is our belief as government that recommendations from the joint team will inform policy direction to remove the bottlenecks facing the absorption capacity of ODA support. The findings and policy direction will provide a roadmap for further collaboration and strengthening of our partnership. Ladies and gentlemen, with those remarks, I wish to thank you all for your attention and wish you all fruitful engagements going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Bwana Alan Mboro, the Secretary Programs International Development Coordination Unit. And this is from the Office of the Deputy President. Again, I can't quite accept the honor of being named after a legend such as Simon Trevor. As Mark Masai, I've only had probably upwards of 16 years in journalism. That doesn't match up to the over 50 years that our legend here, Simon Trevor, has poured into this space and sector. So let's give him what he deserves, the flowers, as they say, his flowers and honor by another round of applause for the years he's put in service. Not yet.
Good morning, all. Thank you for this wonderful time. And let me again recognize Mr. Simon Travers. He has been complaining that he's being embarrassed by too much talking about him. But take courage, because it is because of what you've done that they keep mentioning you. And I know that is the same for all these good partners around here. Mr. Simon Mboro, the representative of the Office of the Deputy President, our Director General, Dr. Erastus Kanga, Mr. Chumo, most welcome. Most welcome to be with us. Dr. Chumo was representing the ministry. Not seen him around. Members of the board present, already introduced, and Honorable Chachu is the chair of the subcommittee on partnerships, and therefore will follow up on the discussions here. The senior management and members of staff, our great partners represented here by you all who are seated here. Thank you for coming along. Your coming here is not in vain. We value your presence here and value the many contributions you have done to make this organization continue its mandate. It is profoundly symbolic that we all gather here today in this ground where mountains of ivory have been consigned to flames in the past, in defiant declaration that Kenya's wildlife is not for sale. This is a statement to our collective resolve to transform crisis into triumph. But this cannot be done with Kenya Wildlife Service alone or government. It requires a collaboration of you, and that's why we invite you for these discussions. The launch of TSAVO, a moment in time, could not be more timely. As we witness TSAVO's rebirth through Simon Trevor's lens, we are reminded that our conservation is a continuum, one that demands constant surveillance, constant vigilance, adaptive strategies, and unity of purpose. The document's greatest power lies in its unspoken question to each of us. That is, what legacy will you help write in the next chapter? The decline in poaching we celebrate today was won through an unprecedented alliance that includes rangers working with prosecutors, communities sharing intelligence with authorities, conservationists collaborating with financial institutions to track illicit flows. And therefore, this is the Kenyan model, where government agencies, non-governmental organizations, private sector champions like the Safaricom and Kenya Airways, and international partners that include UNEP and the World Bank continue their unique strengths into an impregnable shield to our own wildlife. The innovative policies we pioneer, like human-wildlife coexistence frameworks and the Wildlife Conservation Trust Fund, succeed because they are built on partnership paradigms. As trustees of the Kenya Wildlife Service, our mandate is clear: to ensure that Kenya Wildlife Service operates with strategic foresight, accountability, and unwavering commitment to governance excellence. The progress celebrated today, from species recovery to community empowerment systems, from this very foundation. Yet, governance is not merely about oversight, it is also about creating an enabling environment where partnerships can flourish and thrive. Looking ahead, our partnership model must evolve to meet the new challenges of today. Scaling community conservancies that blend traditional knowledge with modern science, deploying blended finance to landscape scale initiatives like the Mountain Bongo Sanctuary, strengthening transboundary corridors through regional cooperation. And therefore, today, as members of our past struggle linger in this soil, I invite each one of you to consider how will your organization help write the next chapter of Kenya's conservation. Your role transcends funding. You are co-architects of the Kenyan's conservation governance model. Whether through the Wildlife Conservation Trust Fund innovative financing, technology transfer, enhanced transparency, or policy advocacy in multilateral forums, you help build the system that sustain the impact. As we look ahead, 3 governance priorities demand our shared focus. These include institutional resilience, community empowerment, and global stewardship. The ivory ashes beneath our feet right here carry a potent message. Extinction is irreversible, but so is legacy. Let us live here today, not just inspired, but recommitted to the hard work of governance, the systems, policies, and partnerships that turn bold visions like the Ngulia Rhino Sanctuary into enduring realities. Finally, I wish to appreciate government support that saw the recruitment of new young Kenyans as rangers that help us move forward and better. The provision of resources by government and many of you partners here is also recognized. It would be remiss not to appreciate the good that you've done in the past as we move into the future. Moving forward, I want to recognize Mr. Peter Moll Peter Moll was one of our board of directors members, and I'm happy he's around here. He was our youthful board member, and we thank him for his contribution too. With all those remarks, I thank you all for turning around and wish that we have the best day for conservation. Thank you so much.
Asante sana to our chair of the Board of Trustees for that. And as mentioned, we will have now a presentation that I'm sure we're keen to digest. And I'd like to call on Professor Erastus Kanga, our DG, to now make that presentation. As I mentioned, there's also a virtual audience, and those online they're using, and you can also use that if you capture perhaps a picture here of the moment of the launch, or while one of Simon Trev is on stage, or even Professor is on stage. You could use a hashtag, Partnerships for Conservation, Thriving Wildlife Forever. That's what we're using as we continue because of our theme today, Wildlife Legacies, Preserving Tomorrow Today. So let's give a hand again and now to Professor Erastus Kanga. I believe he is ready. And let me get a hand as well just to move this podium to the left here so that he can make the presentation from this side and not block the presentation. If you get a hand, this is where you just help me move it to the left as he makes his way to the stage. And that's the young lad. Oh, I see Nona. The young lad is here to help me. Tuwape makofi, asante sana. And the young lad here ambaye ametusaidia hapo awali nilimuuliza uko salama, akaniambia niko Nairobi. So nikamwambia wewe ni mwenyeji. Kwa vile umenijibu hivyo wewe ni mwenyeji.
Somebody will have to move it for me, no problem. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm standing in front of you on behalf of a team that I lead at KWS. This is their presentation. No, let him do there. Let him work there. I need to free my hands. One is allow me to recognize the senior management that is in this room. Let's start from you can do it manually. Let's start from Nicholson, all the DDs who are present, and the deputy directors. Colleagues, this is the team that's owned up the presentation that I'm making. I pleaded with them last night, and all of them said, DG, you have to do the heavy lifting. So I'm here on their behalf. And this is a team that has steered KWS over the last 2 years. And I tell them the success that they are seeing is a success. Colleagues, take your seats. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce the field senior assistant directors. This is where the rubber meets the road. Kibati just moved from northern to central lift to help us deal with the illegal fishing in Nakuru. We have the Dacha there. The Dacha is battling human wildlife conflict in southern. That is where we have the Amboselis and the Kajiado. We have Lucy Makosi, who we have moved to western to go and open up the north all the way to Turkana. We have Dandre is standing in for Kala in the coast, the marine areas. We have Elupe. Elupe is standing in for who? For Jiro. Where is Jiro? He's somewhere. Then we have Bakali. Bakali is in the northern. Bakali is in Marsabit, opening up that area. And we have Wabua in eastern Meru Conservation Area. This is the team that I would want the partners to fully interact with, because they are the ones that are manning the ground. They are the ones that are on the outpost, doing everything day and night. Colleagues, take your seat and we celebrate you. Let us look at the map of Kenya. The next slide. I love this map. I keep on developing it. The last time we were here, This map did not have the pink areas on the Somali side, but I talked to Dixon Kailo and gave us the information. That map talks about all our efforts as a team. Whether you are a member of KWS, whether you are a member of the conservancies, or you are a member of government, this map should tell you a story, and we can stand here and talk for a whole day about that map. That in this country, we have 24 national parks, we have 29 national reserves, we have 4 marine parks, we have 6 marine reserves, we have 8 national sanctuaries, and we have 258 community and private conservancies. Simply put, we have secured 20% of this country for one land use, wildlife and biodiversity conservation. It is a message that the world needs to know, that we are not yet at 30-30, but we have moved so hand that government has given 8.2%, but our beloved community members and private citizens have given 11.8% for wildlife conservation. What a contribution that we can make to nature. That is why the partners here, the NGOs here, we have to do what it takes to support the people that are on the front line, conserving these areas here. Let's go next. The next slide just talks about the law and the overview of the Kenya Wildlife Service. And I'm standing here as a team leader. I'm standing here as a team member, just to say that you know what you do in an organized society. Kenya Wildlife Service has been given the overall mandate to provide leadership and stewardship towards wildlife conservation. We will not lord over anybody. What we are saying is that we are overseeing and we are learning with you, and we want to make sure that our great-grandchildren, when they come, they will not find plagues like what is out there, but they will find little animals still walking in this universe. Let's go to the next slide. With the help of the board, we were able to give KWS a new identity. We consulted all the partners here, and we are extremely happy that we came up with a new vision, we came up with a new mission, we have very clear core values, we have our philosophy. But if you look at the center, in the next 5 years, the team that is in this room does not have an option. We have to invest 98.3 billion to be able to sustain the gains and the successes that we have done. Every year, KWS requires about 18 million to be able to deliver your dreams. We are only, and you see it in the presentation, we are only able to raise about 10 billion. So 9 billion is required. And we don't need that money in cash. We only need Angela to fill in a gap, do the little things that she's doing in her own way. We only need Pat to fill in a gap, do the things that she's doing in the community areas. We need Tom Lalampa here to do the bit that he's doing. So we don't need and cash. We need people that are on the ground making commitments and doing conservation actions. And if that happens, we'll come back here again and celebrate. Now, over the last 9 months, because we want to open our doors, we are going to give you our scorecard. We'll tell you, with the monies that you've given us, what we have done over the last 9 months of our strategic plan. And the 9 months we are guided by the 7 key resource areas that are within what we crafted in our strategic plan. We have a key resource area of wildlife populations. We have resilient ecosystems with rich biodiversity, access and benefit sharing, coexistence between people and wildlife, community and stakeholder participation, wildlife economy, and we have to make KWS a high-performing organization. What we have done to shorten this presentation, we did not partition the scorecard into the KRIs, but we can easily be able to do that. We already have that, and we've agreed with our teams. We will share the KRIs in and what we've been able to achieve with you at an opportune time. But for now, we have lumped them together. You can see from the top there, to strengthen this organization to be high performing, we have already recruited 1,274 rangers, in addition to another 150 cadets who are going to be in the management. Game-proof fences, which are critical, 122 only in 9 months. You can see 2,000 elephant drives. We have the Mara elephants here. We have the Shendricks here. We have other entities, Richard Moller, that are helping us to get this number. So their contribution to us is highly recognized. We have connected 71 gates with satellite connectivity that is not only helping us get our revenue, but also supporting communities to get access to internet. We have invested 50 million in corporate social responsibility. We have distributed 1,750 predator rights. We have embodied 100% of our customers. You can see 77 elephants translocated, 45 rhinos translocated, 98 new vehicles, part of which about 29 we received from partners. I think 29 came from partners, which is extremely encouraging. Within the same period, we have admitted into our parks 1.9 million visitors, and we have done 8,000 problem animal management patrols. We have done 79 community outreach programs, 245 fire breaks maintained, and we have maintained 2,064 kilometers of fence. We have translocated 16 giraffes. We have put in 33 satellite collars, invasive species, that is 540 acres done. We have 290 youths that are already attached to us because of succession. We have maintained park roads, 288 kilometers, and we have acquired 2 boats. New technology, LoRaWAN, we have fitted 29 into our rhinos. The other day you saw us repatriating 17 bongos into Mushene Community Conservancy in Meru. We have community conservancy management plans that we have supported, and we have gazetted them. We have only 1 park management plan that we've been able to roll over. We still have another like 14 that we are working on. And we've been able to complete our drone feasibility study, and that is going to open a new area for our collaborations. And within those 9 months, we have collected 6.4 billion Kenya shillings. And we have received from partners like you who are here, we have received 264 million. We translocated a problem rhino the other day from this park to the suburbs. It broke the fence 5 times. We did not add an option. And we have done quite a number of capacity buildings, both to our board and to our management. The list goes on, and I would want us to go at the bottom of this list. I'll talk about the land area, but before I talk about that land area, in terms of our compliance and improving integrity, we re-established the monitoring and evaluation function that had been lost. We also strengthened our audit function. Our head of audit, Ketani, stand up. Ketani is not a gatekeeper. He is not the policeman at KWS. He is the person who helps us to make sure that we are able to comply. When vouchers are moving around, when approvals are moving around, he is able to get them and tell us, we want to go back. The line that you are getting to is not correct. That is why we've gone for 2 years without any problem. Can take a seat. We've strengthened our procurement, Mary. Mary Majau is our new head of procurement. We recruited her from far. Why? Because we realized for any director general of KWS or for an organization to sink, you sink because of our procurement function. And that is not anywhere where Kanani or Chiengi or Nicholson, we've not gone the recoveries and tell you that we've not really completed the fight. The fight is still on here. When we were able to confiscate this line on, we all got panicked. It's a black line on. We panicked in a bad way because it told us something is happening here. And this happened 2 weeks ago. But the people that we arrested with this line on, we pressed them and they told us they got it from Serengeti, not from Kenya. But still that worries me as a DG because Serengeti is a shared ecosystem between Kenya and Tanzania. So it means in as much as we are working, we need to spill over to our neighboring countries because a rhino that moves from Masai Mara and goes to Serengeti will meet the same, it will meet the same fate, yes. When you look at this other side, we have, over the last 8 months, we have collected 1,188 kilograms of ivory. That is 1 ton of ivory. When we learn around our data, and you're going to see it in the next slide, we have very minimal poaching. I think over the last 8 months, it's only 8 individuals. But we have a lot of opportunistic collection of ivory that is happening, and this points to livelihoods, that people are willing not to just poach because of the kiangazi, the drought, and what is happening. They are willing to go and pull out, get into the hold stock, and put it back in the market so that they can have something to put on the table and eat. So we must address the poverty levels and the livelihoods amongst our communities for us to be able to tame this level of ivory trend that we are seeing. The good thing is that, again, which is very interesting, majority of our collections, including what you're seeing here, when we place the suspects, they're telling us they crossed the border from Tanzania. They crossed the border from Uganda at Karamajong. So that again tells us we are still not safe. In as much as we are putting effort here, our neighbors are suffering the same fate that we have suffered. So there is need to work beyond the boundaries. Now let's go now into the normal things that we've always done, and that is our conservation challenges. Our conservation challenges have remained the same for a long time. Then one would ask, why are we not able to overcome them? It's because Kenya has remained static. The population is growing. Poverty levels are going up. So these challenges are here with us for a long time. If you look at the map, we are trying to battle habitat fragmentation by establishment of additional conservancies, and we hope if we bring benefits to the communities, the fragmentations and majority of these challenges are going to be overcome. Now, I want us to dwell into 2 key challenges that are really bothering me as the Director General of Kenya Wildlife Service. Let's go to the first challenge, human-wildlife conflict. 8% of our conservation areas, which are the parks and the reserves, are safe from human-wildlife conflict because they are protected. People don't go in there. But we have a lot of wildlife that is outside the protected areas. And that is where you're getting this level. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 key hotspots. We have mapped them. So we need mitigation measures from the partners that are here. Taita Taveta, Kajiado, Narok, Laikipia, and Meru. And you can see in January, this is data for the only last 9 months. You can see the peak period is normally in January. I think may just give you a sneak view of the last 9 months so that you see the implication, both financial and in the economy, of human-wildlife conflict. If you look at the number of deaths, let's start with injuries. We have 248 community members that have been severely injured over the last 9 months, while at the same time, we have lost the lives of 108 Kenyans to human-wildlife conflict. The implication of this is so painful that the 248 may never be able to work again because the injuries are severe. they may never be able to be breadwinners again, yes. The 108 could have been the only breadwinners in the family. So human wildlife conflict is devastating communities. And we also have an equal impact in the number of wildlife that we are losing out of human wildlife conflict. Now, if you look at the monetary implications, according to law, we are supposed to compensate somebody who is injured minimum of 2 million Kenya shillings. So over the last 9 months, the government will have to put in 496 million to the 248 people that were injured. The law again states that anybody killed by an animal in Kenya is going to be paid 5 million. For the 108 people that have died because of human wildlife conflict over the last 9 months, the government will have to pay 540 million Kenya shillings. I hope the reality is sinking in all of us, that in 9 months, we are going to spend 1 billion Kenya shillings to pay off when this money should be put into the actual conservation work. And we can only be able to save this kind of money if we mitigate in the right way. So human wildlife conflict is a big headache that we will need support from. If you look at the next slide, there is a lady there who has lost only 2 sheep. This was her best wealth that she has. It is the only property that she could move around and say, when children are going to school, I'm going to sell one of the sheep and pay school fees. They've all been taken by a niner. She's there, standing there desperate. Our compensation process takes years. This lady will actually be compensated after about 3, 4, 5 years. Are these people going to live with animals? So we must change the narrative. If you look at this is onion farm. You can see the other place. Those are elephants that have trampled. It's an acre, 2 acres of a family that they only rely on to get money to eat and to also be able to take their children to school. So the implication of human wildlife conflict to us is real, and it is affecting the way we are doing business out there. It is affecting our relationship with the communities that we are relying on so much to be able to do protection. The next slide is the next nightmare that I have as a DG. People have always said that we don't consume bushmeat. The level of bushmeat consumption in this country is something that is worrying. The board has directed that we do a conference on bushmeat for all the partners, because this pattern is mind-boggling for all of us. You can see that is a border with slaughtered game meat. You can see these are giraffe here. You can see other bushmeat here. And over the last 9 months, because we are active on the ground, we've been able to confiscate or impound 13 tons. That is 13,000 kilos of bushmeat. That is way a lot. If that was districts alone, then it means Angela, all the districts in TSAVO, they've been wiped out. What can we do about this? Again, the risk of zoonotic disease is there. It is real. That is the life that we are living with our communities. What do we do to reduce this level of illegal consumption? What benefits can we be able, as a team, be able to give to our communities? Then the next, which is not a nightmare for me, may be the mortalities of our 2 key endangered species that we are seeing. And these are celebration for us. Because number one, if you look at the rhino mortalities over the last 9 months, actually this is, yes, July to now, we are talking of 17, and 15 are natural, 2 are unknown, that's 117. I just put one photo of that young calf there that died in Lake Nakuru, and this is what we call unknown. It's a calf that the horn has not grown, but it's just died. But if you look at the natural deaths, they point to something that I'm going to talk to about there. Then if you look at elephants, you can see trophy poaching has completely declined. We are looking at 9 elephants, And majority of these elephants, we did not, I think we only found one with a bullet. The others are what we call opportunistic. One was in Lake Jipe. It got stuck in the mud. The elephant died. Community members came and plucked out the tusks. As long as the tusks are missing, we classify it as poaching here. But you can see from where we sit, we are losing more elephants from human-wildlife conflict, that is conflict and controls, and then we also have a lot of natural deaths. And these deaths to us are basically because of our success. We've been able to grow these numbers, and elephants are growing to maturity. Majority of the ones that are natural deaths are dying because of old age or even diseases, and we celebrate them. Now, let us go into the key things that we are asking our areas of collaboration that we think, in a simple way, they are not all inclusive. We still have some areas. Our areas of collaboration. We have done so many species recovery and action plans that you can see all of them there. But we are pleading with partners to help us implement these species recovery plans so that we can be able to grow our populations the way we have grown the rhinos and the elephants. Let us look at some of the sufferings that we are having because of our success. In the next slide, I want to give you a sneak view of the last 3 years, 2022, 2023, and 2024. You can see in 2022, the number of rhino births that we experience in this country, we had 79 black rhinos, we white rhinos. In 2023, we had 62 southern white, and we had 67 blacks. In 25 blacks and 83 whites. In total, for 3 years, we had 214 whites and 231 blacks. The question that we're asking ourselves when I go to my situation room is, why are these going to maturity? Why are they not being recruited to maturity? If these birds are being sustained, our rhino population would actually surpass our target. Let's go to the next slide. When we say rhino birds, out there, and we record every bird. At the moment, we have 1,059 black rhinos in this country and 1,041 white rhinos in this country. So we've grown from a low 100, actually of 300 plus, to a high population of 2,102. But the problem that we have is that most of our rhino sanctuaries are now oversaturated. We need to create more space. And this is our call, that one of the areas that we've seen can give us good returns is in the SAVOs. If we work properly at the Guria Rhino Sanctuary, expand it from the current 92 kilometer square to 3,000, that is an area we can move and grow the rhinos, and we know that we are going to realize the birds that we are seeing will run into maturity, and our rhino population would actually grow from 5% to 8%. Next, we are asking partners to help us open up the Meru Kola National Parks. If you look at the maps, those two parks are the middle of Kenya, and they are the second largest from the SAVOs. That is the place that tourism is going to be next to Masai Mara. And we are seeing, one, the government has given us money. We are opening up the Meru Murika airstrip to bitumen standards to make sure that we can be able to fly people out there. We are putting in lodges there, very good accommodation facilities that are environmental friendly to open up the area. The outcome of opening up Meru and Kola would actually have an impact on the economy of this country. Number 3, we are asking partners to help us put our rangers into decent housing. We have recruited 1,200 274, but we still need houses. We need to get rid of asbestos. We have dilapidated houses that like you can see there, and these are not decent places. How do we support the teams that are living, protecting our wildlife? Let's go next. Our housing needs are there. We need about 3,000 housing, and we are willing to put our teams in central places. Then we equip them with vehicles and tents for them to be doing mobile patrols when their families are safe. Because a man or a woman who feels that their families are not safe, their minds are not settled when they are going to work. So the welfare of our rangers, we are taking it very serious. Let's go next. We need support from partners to leverage on technology. You can see what Lola One and Hard Ranger and the Starlink are doing to us. We are able to monitor the movement of animals in space and time, and this really informs our management decisions. Let's move next. That's an example of the Mara Elephant project, using drones to drive elephants away from human habitation, and this is happening at night. That by the time the communities wake up, the elephants have been driven back into the reserve, and it really gets exciting that we can be able to leverage on the technology. Let's go next. We still are doing a lot of movement of animals across the country because of the increasing number of population and land use changes. So we need to upgrade and modernize our capture and transfer and veterinary services so that we are humane in the way we do things. We are coming to the end. We need a lot of trainings. The rangers and the staff that we have recruited, if we don't put them on continuous trainings, then it means we are going to be losing ground. So the partners that are here, that are specialized in providing trainings in conservation or in security, we call upon you to join us, and we train the cohort of conservationists that is going to hold the grounds that we have mined Paula for the last 30 years. We have another cohort that are between 18, 19, 22 years. It means if we hold them well, they are going to be in the conservation landscape over the next 40 years. So we have to invest in them here. Then a way of training, we have our law enforcement academy in Manyani. We want this to be the school of East and Central Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa. We need your help to enhance this school and make it the best. Already we are training people from across East Africa, but we can do better. So those are basically our asks. And when we're asking you that, we want to tell you our financial status. You saw the numbers. If you look at the number of visitors, this is basically our core area of revenue collection. And you can see the numbers have been going up. 2024, we had 3.2 million visitors. Out of that, about 800 were foreigners and 2.4 were locals. So we are encouraging all of you to visit the parks. When you are there, the dollar, the shilling that you pay is what is helping us to do our mandate. Then if you look at our financial performance over the last 4 years, you can see the monies that we've been collecting. The green is the revenue, the grants that we are receiving, then we have our expenditure, and then our requirement. I want to take you to 2024-2025. We are definitely going to collect more than 7.9 billion. Our projections are not looking bad. We expect partners and government to give us some 3.4 billion, but if you look at our expenditure requirement, it's 12 billion. So we are not able to operate at the optimal. We are basically at the minimum. And if you look at the last bar, those are the needs that I collect from the field assistant directors. I tell them, tell me in the next 1 year, what do you require in your area to optimally function? So you can see the money that we are collecting and the gap. And this is the basis of our strategic plan, that every year we need approximately 19 billion to be able to give service to humanity, to wildlife, to the conservancies, to the communities. Let's go. Next. For example, if you look at the areas where we have marked, if you look at the last financial year, 2023-2024, a time like now, that is 9 months, we are collecting 6.5 billion. But at time like now this year, in April, you can see we have collected 6.3 billion. We are less by about 200 million. And 2022-2023, we are collecting less. McHugh, it's important for you to know that that is not because of visitation. It's because of another aspect, foreign exchange. This year, we have more visitors than last financial year. But because the shilling has become stronger and the visitors are paying in dollars, our collections, when it is converted to Kenya shillings, becomes less. So that is another area that we'll be bringing to the board so that we see which is the best currency that we need to collect our revenue with here. But all said and done, we are seeing that we will not be able to significantly go beyond the revenue that we collected last financial year. We are going to be there, which means we are still surviving. We can be able to breathe, but we will not be running the way we had expected. Once we review the conservation fees, then those numbers are going to be better. And all that money is put in the work that you see. Now, if you look at this, this gives you a summary of our areas that we require support. Stevie Taylor, we only need you to raise up your hand and you pick one area. Say you're going to get us $50 million for Nguria Rhino Sanctuary, and tutasema amen zote. These are the areas that we feel that the partners can come in and help us strengthen the work that we are doing. We are not limiting this. If any partner is here and you feel that your area where your donors are giving you money is outside here, but still supporting our mandate, we are willing to have that discussion so that we can work together. Let's move in. This is the story. Mark, I'm almost done. This is a story that we have to keep on talking, because for 35 years from when KWS was established, we've not been able to have a strong financial foundation. We have relied on partners and donors. Now that USAID has pulled out and we are seeing other partners reducing their support in that area, we are facing a serious crisis. This happened when terrorism struck us. Money was not forthcoming. When COVID came in, money is not forthcoming. And now that Trump has changed the US policy, we are seeing it coming. Then the question is, how long are we going to agree to get through these bottlenecks? Can we be able as a country set up sustainable solutions, trust funds, endowment funds, and other fallback plans that we can be able to invest? And we know an institution like Kenya Wildlife Service that is the lead agency is able to stabilize. Why we are bringing this is we have to support Tom Lalampa here, who is our good friend in NRT. Kylo, we have to we have to support the community conservancies, because it is our mandate, it is our responsibility. When those community conservancies are not getting financing, we cannot sit back as government. When NRT is struggling to raise funds, and what they are doing, they are complementing government work, we can't sit back, we have to work in. So a strong KWS means the sector is going to be stronger. So my urge is to you is, let us strive in the next 3 years to re-engineer the service to make it financially sustainable, so that even as you walk around Pola and look for money, do education programs, you know there is an institution that you can come back and say, yes, I have this innovation, can you put your money into it here? And we will be developing a stronger base for our conservation. Look at the threats that the USAID funding withdrawal has brought to us. Community conservation, over 55 conservancies and 1,200 rangers are going without salaries. If they down their tools, if they are not in the areas of work, and KWS is just one player, what are we going to do to those areas? All our 30 years of investment, all of us as Kenya, is going to go down to the drains. Look at the number of job losses. Look at the households that were being supported through the conservancy movement that are going to suffer. If you come down there, the wildlife crime the risk of poaching going back, illegal wildlife trade, because that is the thing that they've known is going to come up, because they will not sleep hungry for 3 days. The third day, they will snare an elephant. The fourth day, they are going to shoot a rhino. The fifth day, they will slaughter a giraffe to take meat home here. That is the implication. Operation disruption, you can see. We've gone in to assist in Sela and other conservancies, but all this, even for us as KWS, we are feeling the disruption because these are partners that were coming in to complement our work. They were filling the gaps in areas that we would not get. And as a country, we were celebrating together. So when the conservancy movement, when the private conservancies become weak, we should all be crying together because it means that weakness is affecting us as a country. So we need to rally behind our community conservancies and give them support. From where I sit at KWS, we are able to move in. We are operating at our base, at our very basic. But I plead and cry for the 12% of the country that is reserved for wildlife conservation and given to us by very willing communities. We need to give them returns, we need to give them benefits here. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I need to say thank you. Asanteni sana. I have laid down the story of the senior management and senior assistant directors, and I hope I have communicated the way they wanted me to communicate to you. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you to our DG, Professor Erastus Kanga, for that presentation. I saw many of you trying to take a picture of this. I believe it's in order to expect that through the registration, where I'm sure you surrendered your, or rather not surrender, but submitted your email address. I'm sure you will be able to get that presentation to you in case it was too pixelated from way at the back there to capture in a picture. Asante sana to Prof, and he'll be back in a moment just for the launch moment. But for a name you've heard more than once here on stage, I'd like now to call on the man behind TSAVO, A Moment in Time, the documentary that we're going to launch this afternoon. We're going into afternoon right now, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, as he's helped to stage by his son, let's also do something mutually beneficial because we've been seated for quite a minute. Let's all stand and give him an applause as he makes it to the stage to give us quick remarks and context on TSAVO, A Moment in Time. This is for the director of the African Environmental Film Foundation, Bwana Simon Trevor. Don't tire, let's keep it going, the applause until he gets to the podium. It also will have a bit of video play, and I'm sure you want a snippet of the documentary series that is going to be launched in a moment right after his remarks. So asante sana, and you may have your seats. Shukran. And to now, Bwana Simon Trevor.
You know, where's he gone? My son Peter once sent me a sticker for the fridge, you know, one of these magnetic ones, and it said, "Live long enough to be a nuisance to your children." As many of us here today are environmentally conscious people, or I should say all of us, may I greet you in this way. As all of us today are environmentally conscious people, may I greet you in this way. Homo Deus, Homo sapiens, and all the wild creatures of our country. Jambo Sana. On the 1st of April 1959, I joined Kenya National Parks as a junior assistant warden. I was 20 years old. I'm 86 today. I've always been a national parks man at heart. At some stage, I became a wildlife film director, working my way through the commercial television and feature film world, but focusing my attention on TSAVO whenever possible. In 1998, I changed from the commercial to the educational by starting the African Environmental Film Foundation, AEFF, with the mandate environmental education through film. Since then, with a great deal of help and cooperation from KWS, we have been producing and distributing films in local languages, free of charge, about Kenyan issues, with Kenyans, by presenting the facts in a balanced and impartial way. We've been able to present a realistic picture of what the environment means to Kenyans. Over 25 years, our 30 films have been seen by millions of people, predominantly in East Africa, but also further afield across Africa and internationally. We've been to CITES supporting Kenya's stand against ivory trading by placing international multi-language copies in the pigeonholes of delegates just before they cast their votes. They were reminded of Kenya's stand against all trading in ivory. By 2014 or thereabouts, it occurred to me that I was in possession of a huge record of film, sound effects, and still pictures, which should be shared with everyone. So began the largest, most ambitious project of my life, the compilation of a series of films charting the course of elephant ivory throughout the centuries. AEFF's American board, led by Chairman Arnie Glimscher, with the original 1998 members, never failed to raise considerable funds. They rallied behind me, although I imagine not without some concern as to what I was committing them to this time. Some of the board members have carried out responsibilities well beyond the call of duty since we began in 1998, a remarkable example of their belief in what AFF stands for. I don't forget for a moment the help I received from everyday Kenyans who gave their time and support during the times AFF too was struggling to get the message out. Now in 2018, a key ingredient for the success of this huge project was the vital technical expertise of AEFF's long-term supporter, Joanne Poggio. Backed up by Lucy Muhindi, our Nairobi manager. I was the dreamer. Joanne was the engineer. Joanne, a documentary maker of repute, will lead AFF into the future with an emphasis on what new approaches films will need to take. I dived into archival film libraries, books, articles, scientific reports, press releases, newspapers, and the internet. it was obvious that a major story about how ivory has affected the people of Africa, not just elephants. After 6 years of editing, I think I can claim our project became the most detailed series about this one aspect of canyon conservation that has ever been assembled. We needed more funding than I had ever expected, and all of us in AEFF have made gestures to enable us to see the huge project through to completion. In many ways, these films are a dedication to those in the field who have given so much and even lost their lives during the time I gained inspiration from their experiences. The history of Kenya, like everywhere, is made up of eras, each covering a second in evolution. The story of TSAVO is a microcosm of the world. TSAVO is a moment in time. TSAVO, a moment in time, became a historical record of 36 films. Some years ago, Joanne and I put this short film together to help raise funds to make the series. So now this film, I think it's 4 minutes long. So it should appear now.
The 1,000-year-old story of Kenya's TSAVO is inextricable with The 1,000-year-old story of Kenya's TSAVO is inextricable with ivory. Spanning centuries, ivory was Africa's chief export commodity and principal form of currency. The majority of it stolen. Elephants sustained a people of bow and arrow hunters, ancient representatives of an ivory-producing culture that had existed here for 1,000 years. On the formation of the TSAVO National Park in 1948, the Wata inevitably became poachers. Later, when rampant corruption blossomed, it further destroyed not only their way of life, but threatened the very existence of elephants. Ivory financed the slave trade, turned brother against brother, financed the beginning of a country, financed colonial expansion. Ivory was the bulk of trade on a railway. TSAVO's wild animals were fed to feuding Western armies, and ultimately, ivory almost led to the collapse of the national park system. By 1989, rangers and bandits, with modern automatic firearms on both sides, were fighting pitched battles in defense of TSAVO's wild animals. A corrupt worldwide demand was the enemy. For the future. Droughts periodically reduce animal numbers. When better times return, the survivors respond to better conditions. They will do so again and again, provided that TSAVO is there to give space and security. Industrialization is part of life affecting TSAVO. The trick will be to accord the environment the same importance as any other natural resource. TSAVO was created nearly 100 years ago primarily for the protection of wild animals in Kenya. Today, as the core of the Greater TSAVO Conservation Area, it's the only park in Kenya large enough to survive on its own and provide a source of vital benefits for people outside. The African Environmental Film Foundation will tell the stories of some of the people of all races, creed or culture who guided TSAVO through recurring crises. It's a true account of greed, lust, betrayal, love and dedication. In many ways, it's a tragic story, but with hope for the future. The past, right up to the present, will be there for us to see in these films.
Thank you. The overriding demand for ivory was there long before TSAVO was created. In 1931, Ernest Moore, from a centuries-old American ivory trading family in Zanzibar, revealed the details of a trade in his diaries.
What ivory really has meant to Africa is little understood, but, in fact, the whole of our known history of Central Africa, the exploration and subjugation of the country by Arabs, the spreading and the extent of the slave trade, the journeys of the European explorers, the missionaries, the coming of the powers and the subsequent territorial division of the central part of the continent, all are inextricably entangled with man's greed for ivory. The quest for ivory turned thousands of square miles of fertile country into a wilderness of rapine plunder, fire-blackened ruin. Elephants were slain, but for every elephant that perished for its ivory, a dozen human lives were wrecked and the transport of it. The fate of the unhappy land in those years of ivory raiding makes an almost unbelievable story, yet true it is.
In his autobiography, The Prolific Slave and Ivory Trade, merely by recounting, reveals the extent to which ivory was a curse on African people. Conservation in Africa is changing at an astonishing rate. It forever seems to totter on the edge of a cliff, held back from falling over by the desire of succeeding generations of younger people to recognize and accept the increasing importance of the environment and everything in it, thereby creating a safer life for themselves. This shouldn't be anything surprising about this statement, for change is irreversible. So, after acknowledging the devastating results of history, it is surely quite remarkable that Kenya's TSAVO National Park has survived since it was created by the stroke of a pen in 1948. That is surely to Kenya's credit. And finally, please let me show you the ending of the last chapter of the series.
Every elephant started out as a tiny calf, nurtured by this society of elephants. Society that would determine, combined with the efforts of human beings, whether there will be elephants in TSAVO in the future. Every elephant started out nurtured by this Society of Elephants, dollars in the future. TSAVO is here to stay, the boundary from the industrialized. What do you do when 1,000 elephants wish to cross the road? You wait and enjoy them. This elephant, me, obviously thinking. He was assessing me. After several minutes, he could see I wasn't going to do anything alarming. So in the most subtle of ways, he dismissed me. But he was still careful to watch me. How much do elephants know about us? How many people remember what it has taken to safeguard TSAVO for today?
I hope I have inspired you to watch all the 36 films in your own time. This Kenyan series will shortly have its world premiere on NTV. Thanks to NTV. We plan for distribution first in Kenya, then in East Africa, then across Africa, and then the world. Of course, we will need help to continue promoting Kenya's combined conservation efforts in these troubled times. I thank KWS DG Director General for inviting us to join the Conservation Partners Forum event today. I must also thank the members of KWS and the members of Environment, the AEF, the members of AEF, who worked so hard to bring all this together. Asanteni.
Nasi pia tunasema asante sana to our director of the African Environmental Film Foundation, Bwana Simon Trevor. He will be back on stage for the launch moment. No, it's okay. We'll give you a moment just to have an interactive session. You'll be back on stage, Bwana Simon Trevor. Again, let's give him a resounding round of applause as we appreciate the work that AEF, led by Bwana Trevor, and the team that are here. There's Joanne here, over here. He was mentioned in the presentation. You could rise up just to, because he did say that you will be taking a good part moving forward. So that is the gentleman who is going to be also part of the action for a good amount of time moving forward. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the presentation that was had here earlier by DG, I'm sure some of you had a question or comment or rider as it was ongoing. So I'd like to give an opportunity. We have an interactive session right before the launch, and I will ask that a mic be brought to Professor DG Erastus Kanga. Tumpe tafadhali, atatueleza nani atakuja for this session. Tumpe tu mic moja. One of you guys will just hand over, and those two gentlemen will also be on standby. If you have a comment and question, in fact, you could just raise your hand right now. It could be a comment based on the presentation that was made here, or even an appreciation to Bwana Simon Trevor. If you have a comment while you have his audience right now, you can make a comment. You could just raise your hand so we could locate you and bring a mic to you, because based on the setup, it might take a minute to get to you. Any questions, comments, or even as a presentation was being made by our DG, you had something to say about it, maybe even to chime in and to add on, and even a suggestion. It could be a suggestion. So it's an interactive session. I will be on standby to do that. So any questions, comments from any of our stakeholders and our partners here? Yes, thank you. I thought there would be a question from Paula, Dr. Paula. Asante sana. So there's Dr. Paula. As you stand by for that, so unaweza mpa Dr. Erastus Mike atueleze nani anaweza jibu maswali hapa. Kulikuwa na mic mbili, so kuna moja inaweza pewa hapa kwa prof. Kuna yes, tafadhali tumpe daktari ama kaka. Weza msaidia umpe prof hii hapa. Mimi nitatu. Shukran. Yes. Asante, prof. Just to help us understand who is a hand to answer or to respond, prof, you could tell us who you'd suggest. There are people that you acknowledge. You could just speak into the mic. Ndo ajijue isikuwe ni under the bus. Unaweza waeleza tu, that's why I brought a mic to you. Unaweza waeleza. Wawe standby just before Dr. Paula starts with her comment. Unaweza msaidia hapo tafadhali. Umempa mic na hata hujamwashia tafadhali.
Thank you, Mark. I think let the questions come, and we are going to allocate them to not just the staff,
Yes.
but including our partners and our mentors like Nehemiah, who
Yes.
can be able to help us respond to some of the things that are coming up, including my board. Yeah.
All right.
Yes, thank you.
You've done exactly what I needed you to do, is just to give them a heads up. Wawe tayari wasikue kwa simu, wawe tayari kujibu maswali, or just to respond. To you, Dr. Paula. Karibu.
Thank you so much, Mark. Congratulations, Simon and Joanne, for such an amazing production. I mean, it's any filmmaker's dream to be able to take 40 years of work and produce a TV series. To KWS and particularly to Dr. Kanga, this is an amazing historical document, and I hope that it gets into every single university in this country, because it's going to inform the future conservation community in this country and across the continent. My question is actually to Dr. Kanga. As you know, I produce wildlife documentaries and TV series together with many other Kenyans and actually East Africans. Many of us have real challenges with access to national parks. And I know Simon was so lucky because he lived right next to TSAVO National Park for the last many, many decades. What can we do together with KWS and maybe even with the conservancies? I know we have the head of Conservancies Association here, Dr. Kayelo. I wonder if we can imagine an opportunity, maybe a decade of support for education and for filmmakers and storytellers, access to national parks, reserves, and conservancies for our own storytellers, our own creatives, so that we can produce even more content, because Simon's series is just one. We need hundreds of films, and maybe thousands, made by Kenyans about our own heritage. So I really would like to request that KWS consider partnering with the filmmakers so that we can actually access our national parks and reserves to do this. Thank you.
With the applause, it seems you have spoken for many, Dr. Paula. So give an opportunity to Prof to respond. Any other questions? We just need to locate you. There's a hand there, please, for the team that's supporting me in that. Any other hand? There's another hand here and another one. Please just be on standby with the mics to give them one to go ahead. Prof, would you like to respond to that one? It seems it resonates with most of those in the dome.
Thank you, Mark. I think I've interacted with Paula on a number of occasions and have given her some complementaries. I've just interacted with my board chair here, and we are all in agreement that what Paula you're doing and others is a serious component of conservation and education and awareness. We only need, and I have guided you, you need to interact with our SAD in charge of education and awareness. Where is Elema? That falls under Captain's docket. Captain, we are all in agreement that anybody who is doing educational films, particularly on wildlife, they need to access. You only need Margaret Mose, who is our chief licensing officer, to give you documentation, because we have to comply with our requirements of issuing filming permits, so that we can also be able to guide you into the Kenya Films Association on how you can do it. But from where we sit and the chair is going to talk, that is not a tall order. We are open, and we will allow people to make and produce conservation and education materials, so that we can be able to bring in more children into the work that we are doing. Thank you. My chair.
Thank you, DG. Thank you, Madam, for the good question. And the club surely resonates with what you just asked. I think the biggest weakness organization will have is telling the story. If you don't allow your partners to tell the story, as it were, it will be told differently. And therefore, it would be important to partner not only in conferences like this, but also in the field. And I think it's just a matter of looking at the way to do it the earliest possible, so that the story is told better. Thank you.
Asante sana. There was a hand. Yes. You can appreciate. Thank you to Chair and DG. Yes, go ahead, sir.
Okay, my name is Jage Gakunju. I'm much more associated with the Giraffe Center in terms of rewilding the threatened Rothschild or Baringo giraffe. My own involvement in conservation spreads up to the Mara and to the other places like Meru, Kora, Bisanadi, trying to pick up the data for especially birds. And I'm supporting the young groups in that particular area. But one of the things that has come to my attention, and I think this is probably to Mr. Mburu, is the importance of the government to understand that the natural resource we have called the wildlife and the protection that is needed there, the overall policy of the country needs to identify the importance of that asset, and it is a unique asset. So when we go into areas of land policy, we find that the corridors for animals have been blocked. So we have to talk to the communities again to start opening them up. So what I wanted to know is, what is the attitude of the government in terms of the long-term plan of realizing that this is an asset that we need to keep forever? Because without the government overall long-term view, it is a very frustrating effort for the individuals that are in this particular space.
Asante. Bwana Mboro, would you like to respond to that?
Thank you very much for that question. I think my entry point would be more or less reflect on the remarks I made in my 2-3 minutes remark. And I think once again I would like to reiterate the government's commitment towards what you've just spoken to in terms of ensuring, because this is a collaborative effort between government and the key stakeholders. And I'm happy that this Congress or this gathering has got all those people, because it is not a government alone effort. It has to be KWS, it has to be the development partners, it has got to be the community, civil society organizations, the media. So I think government is just there to coordinate. And I think the establishment of the International Development Partnership Coordination Unit under the Office of the President more or less addresses itself to the issue of the external partners. But at the same time, I can also speak to policies that cut across, be it the land policy or any other policy that would affect issues conservation. So I think if you have more time, we could always have a bilateral outside of this tent. Thank you.
Amesema mpatane nyuma ya tent mzungumze kidogo. There was a hand over here, and then unayo tayari. So let's get a mic to the gentleman in the nice navy blue suit, and then kaka kwako. Long press.
My name is Mudamba, and I'm from DocuBox, the East African Documentary Film Fund. And I just want to reiterate what Paula Kahumbu has said, Dr. Paula Kahumbu, because I think the centrality of film has already been proved, even by Trevor's film, is able to do. Take us back into history and be able to celebrate with us what's happening currently. But I think also what's important for the ministry, KWF, and everybody else is to be able to see the centrality of film in being able to celebrate our country, celebrate our nature, celebrate our wildlife, and to be able to work with filmmakers more closely in being able to go beyond educational content to promotional content. And I want to think that it will be very, very important that there is a connection between our filmmakers who are in the wildlife sector and those who are doing documentary films to have an easy way of being able to work with the different sectors to be able to shine a light on the beauty of this country, our wildlife, and so much that we have to share with not only the region, but with the world. So mine is not so much of a question. I hope it is still worth reaction. Thank you.
Asante Bwana Peter Mudamba, DocuBox in here, and anyone else so we can locate you and get you a mic, please help.
I want to say, and then the last one, which is so important, was mentioned by our brother here, which is to do with the connectivity of our landscape and for our wildlife. This is something that is in the Vision 2030, that we have to preserve the connectivity of our wildlife and livestock, because livestock is also part of our culture. And without this culture, then wildlife also suffers. So this connectivity, since 2017, there's a Wildlife Corridors and Dispersal Areas report, which requires active implementation. And there's a lot of efforts by many organizations here to ensure that this happens. But how can we make this another national agenda in the limelight? Because without this connectivity, these issues of human-wildlife conflict that the director is battling with, those compensations, if you don't plan for the connectivity properly, then you'll forever battle with these issues. So again, with concurrence of the board here and the Kenya Wildlife Service, if this can be brought again as a national issue that we need to discuss and tackle. Otherwise, thank you very much.
Asante. Any acknowledgement from Prof? I saw you taking some notes. He's very keen in taking the notes as you make your observations and comments. He made a comment there on bushmeat. Maybe it's just an acknowledgement. However, if you already have a mic, would you like to make a comment? Just quick.
Thank you, Mark. To Ben, thank you so much for your comment. You are a lino expert, and you know the problem that we have. We are suffering from our success. We have highly and heavily protected our 18 lino sanctuaries, and they are now, majority of them are satellite. If you go to Nguria, we have about 141 rhinos, and Nguria can only hold 60 rhinos. Here in Nairobi National Park, we have 156. 172 rhinos in Nairobi National Park, and Nairobi National Park can only hold about 70. So what is happening is that we are having a lot of territorial fightings, displacements, and that is why we aim to take out one of the bulls that was kicked out of the park and stayed at the sheep and goat for 3 days. We would bring it back, it's chased again, and we aim to relocate it all the way to TSAVO. And then when the rhinos, the calves are packed together, predation comes in. So our core is, can we open up additional areas? If we go to the TSAVOs used to have about 20,000 rhinos in those old days. The land is still there. The opportunity is still there. What measures can we put in place? More security. We do additional more fencing, especially where we are bordering the Tanzania, to make sure that we have good high presence where rhinos can freely be able to move. We open up Meru Kola areas where we used to have lots of rhinos. If you come into the Laikipia landscape, again, we have open spaces there that are owned by communities and private individuals who want to keep rhinos. So we need to encourage the private sector to venture into this and provide what Pat normally calls room to roam. That is what we need for our rhinos. If we have more space, this country is going to be a shining example of how to recover a species that was almost getting to extinction. And I am sure partners here are willing to be part of that success. Our hands are open. We have a hand stop with my team here that 1st of December this year, we are going to drop down the fences in Guria Rhino Sanctuary and expand that sanctuary from 92 kilometers square to 3,000 kilometers square. We want our rhino population to double in a short period. Thanks. We have a national report on corridors and dispersal area that is being implemented at the ministry. An example of the commitment of government is that all of you saw the demolition that was going on in Kitengela. That demolition in the Portland land is because there is a presidential directive to open up Nairobi National Park through the ship and goat so that we can reinstate the migration that used to happen between Nairobi Park and the Athi Kapiti Plains. We have registered the Swala Conservancy, the Iriri Conservancy. We are now talking to other private members that are there. We have Mlinge Farm that's about 10,000 acres. We have Bindio that is about 15,000 acres. We are having discussions with them so that they agree to create additional space there where we can be able to give this park a lifeline. Animals can move in and out. That is a government directive, and we are almost getting into that. I know, again, the president is very keen to expand TSAVOs into the Galana. We are having an exchange program there where we are staring at additional land being given to us. We know that we are very keen in expanding the space into where the late John Keane has a piece of land that is really loved by rhinos. We are having those discussions. So the issue of corridors and dispersal area is live with us, and it's a government commitment that we need to expand areas. Now, where we are, Ben, is we need to get into the north. Before the corridors and dispersal areas are closed down in the north, we need to get out there, map them, and start giving incentives to the communities and the other members. Bushmeat is a real problem, and the only way we can solve bushmeat is we must give communities some returns. We have to give communities some benefits. If they don't see benefits from a dik-dik, from a giraffe, then they will hit that giraffe. We have to tell them a giraffe, a zebra, has more value. It can grow in a dry land area than livestock or maize. The moment they see that interface, in this country, last financial year, we were able to collect about 454 billion Kenya shillings from tourism alone. If 10% of that money is plowed back into the wildlife and tourism sector, it will completely change the dynamics of benefit sharing. We are going to see communities responding because that is going to be pesa mashinani. It is going to be money that they will be getting because of getting themselves into the wildlife conservation space here. Thank you.
Asante sana. Where the mic is, we can just ask your question. In the interest of time, I believe even some of the responses answer some of the questions. Do you have a mic? If you have a mic, yes, you could go ahead, and then you'll be next. Yeah, go ahead.
Congratulations to Simon and the team at KWS. My name is Edwin Sangale from the Hirola Conservation Program. We are based in Garissa. We work to save the critically endangered Hirola antelope, which is one of the biggest casualties of the decline of elephants. I had a question on the hotspots for the human-wildlife conflict that the DG presented. And from the map, I think the counties mentioned were Taita Taveta, Kajiado, Narok, Laikipia, and Meru. They were mentioned as the hotspots. But I tend to assume they come out as hotspots because of the amount of data that is available. meaning in these counties, since they're more progressive in terms of conservation, more data on human-wildlife conflict is coming out prominently compared to other counties. So I wanted to ask the KWS team, what are the avenues that exist that for these other counties to present their data, whether through maybe WRTI or maybe through any other research organization that can go into the presentations that our DG just made. And then also I had a question on the profiling of problem animals, because I think even with the schedules that we have on the Constitution, there are animals that are seen as problematic in other counties as opposed to other counties. Like, for example, in Garissa, the giraffe, the reticulated giraffe has probably, according to our data, the highest conflict levels in the county. But for the rest of the county, giraffes are just lovely, tall animals. And so in terms of compensation, our farmers would ask, why wouldn't we not be compensated for giraffes? Yet other counties get benefits from destruction from elephants. Yeah, thank you.
Asante Bwana Sangale. Sijui kama kuna jibu kutoka DG to what Sangale was responding to. I was raising in terms of the hotspots. And also as there's a response, if we can have someone on standby just to hold the mic, we don't have an interruption with the feedback of the many phones on the VIP table. But you could respond to Bwana Sangale.
Well, those are hotspots, but in every county we have an institution, wildlife compensation committees, and our wardens are part of it, the county commissioner, and a number of institutions at the county level, including the county governments. And people report to this committee. It's clearly stated in our Wildlife Act. And that's how we get all this information. And that's the process we use even for compensation. So this institution on the ground, a number of actors are involved, and this is how we get our information. So in every county, there is a committee established by the law. Thank you.
Asante. She can hang on to that mic. And yes, sir, we'll get to you. There's one question, Upando, and we have 10 minutes to go for the interactive session. You could be on standby here just for him to take the next comment or question, but you can go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mark. My name is Jim Justus Nyamo. I'm known for the elephants walking and creating awareness. And I am so delighted to see the representation of so many people here. We actually the people who, if anything happen, our children will ask us so many questions. I dwell so much on the elephants, but there are many things that are coming on board. And one area that I've seen, looking at the conservation challenges, and I am here to charge all of us. We spend a lot of time perhaps sitting down discussing all these things. And as Dr. Ben mentioned, the issue of bushmeat and others, we didn't need to talk about these to our communities. I do a lot of awareness, walking and talking to people, and I can assure you, and I can speak this without fear, that we've not reached down to our communities. I just came from Mara, and what is happening in Mara, bushmeat is something that is so real. And I think in this context, we may lose all these animals, by mentioning we have challenges. What do we need? Before we say that these people can basically see the benefit of wildlife, there is something that we need to do. I worked in KWS before, and I do know that the meeting that we used to do in Amboseli, it is high time we engage communities through the barazas, through the churches. We have to get them to understand we do not have to conserve this wildlife for finances or for any financial gain. I do know that we must consider all these things, but there are many things aesthetical value. Kenya, we are so respected. I just came from Ethiopia, and we are so respected, and people fear Kenyans. But when you come here, we are still eating moles. So as conservationists, and I think it's the high time, we need not only to speak among ourselves, but we need to, after we break, maybe for lunch or anything else, we need to share this country and ensure that we concentrate much on educating people. They always say that awareness is not measurable. I've been doing this awareness for the last 10 years. And I do remember, Honorable Chachu, early many years when you're doing this, we are still doing it. But we have changed the thinking of many people down there. We will die with our strategy, species recovery, but our people down there are still struggling to understand, why do Kenyans need so many elephants? Yet as we want to ensure that there are more, but our people down there have not still connected. So I'm challenging, and as DG always say that Kenya Wildlife Service may not be everywhere in the corner of this country. And I think it is all of us. Simon, you are retiring now, as we are coming back. And I think, Panadiji, we want to assure you, I'm now on my next campaign, Nairobi to Zimbabwe, because we still need those other countries to be part of us. So back home here, I think we really need to work together and synergize and ensure our community have no problem. They only need to be informed. The issues of the compensation, I am sure, and the senior officers can attest to this, our community still feel the warden is in charge of compensation. So when they see Banabakari, they think you are the one who has compensation. That is because we have not educated our people well. When Banakatoriki, you are moving around in your area, people feel you are the one who is not compensating your community. So I think it's the high time we go to educate them. Even Kenya Wildlife Service have no money, they are also borrowing. So it is us to take this message back to our community. Thank you very much.
Asante Bwana Justice. Just pass it back there to the gentleman in the glasses, and then we'll take your observation as well or comment. You could just hand over the mic. Tuko hapa mbele mwanzo, tutakuja kwako. Tuko hapa, yeah. Just be patient. You're next after here. It's on.
First and foremost, I want to say congratulations to the KWS team. Director, I hope you sleep well. One time when I became director here, they said your hair will be gray within 1 year. But what I want to say here is I have listened very well to what was said by the director. I want to say congratulations for these great organizational skills. Simon, what do I say? You've seen me grow from a young man to what I am now. But one thing that I want to say or raise amongst us is the quiet enemy, the invisible enemy, the one that does not really raise a lot of emotions. And this is the loss of land to invasive alien species. I was in TSAVO about a year ago, and when I looked around from inside TSAVO East towards, I can't remember, the mountain near Voi, and the park looked very green. I said, wonderful. And then I said, but what is this? And you find there is quite a lot of forest by Juliflora species. This is the green vegetative forest that has come up. By the way, in conservation today, the greatest or the leading destruction is really loss of habitat. We talk about people taking up more land. We talk about ourselves changing the land. But Prosopis juriflora, for example, just to mention one. There is the opuncia that is occupying a lot of our dry areas, taking away land from communities, taking away land from people. And very often they look so nice and we start propagating it ourselves. I know the ones in the TSAVOs were actually spread by goats being brought from the north or the northwest. And as they went along Mombasa Road, they were dropping droppings. And then from there, they have spread. What do we do about this? Because it's a very difficult one. I know it's not for the Director Kanga to deal with, but perhaps somebody could initiate an idea and get our government onto it and get our county, that's national government, county government, and communities to address this. Because slowly, it's taking up a lot of our habitats, and it's a very difficult one to deal with because it's not that emotive. You don't chase it as a poacher. But this is very serious. Just a comment. Yeah. Would appreciate what KWS might be able to do. Mm-hmm. We have our ministry representative here. What is it that we can do to pull in other stakeholders?
Asante sana kwa hilo comment. In case you'd like to acknowledge that, if there's anyone in the room who has any idea, you could raise your hand and you get in touch with Bwana DG, who's been very keen on having this interactive session because it is a forum for conservation partners, and it wouldn't be a forum if there was no opportunity for questions, comments, and observations. Sir, you were next. You can just, and I think I saw here first, and then I'll come to you.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Simon, for such great work. Really, really good. Thank you, DG. I'm George Njagi. I work for Wildlife Clubs of Kenya. This is actually the oldest conservation organization that was started here in this country. It is a grassroots organization started by the youth of this country. One thing that I know is that videography and photography are really very powerful tools for conservation education. In Wildlife Clubs of Kenya, we just re-equipped our mobile education unit to make sure that we continue taking these wonderful videos to all schools across this country. And I know many of them out there most probably have never gotten a chance to sit and watch this kind of wonderful, nature. So mine is to request, and I know we have collaborated with Paola here, would want to do this. All the filmmakers seated here, kindly reach out to us. And if you don't mind, you can also let us, know that you are there. We will come, see how best we can work with you, and your good work will reach to those far-flanked areas of this country. Last 2 months, in January, we were able to send a group of our conservation education officers all the way to Lodwar for 3 weeks, showing schools videos that they have to do with wildlife. Today, as we talk, we have a whole team in TSAVO working with over 200 schools. So I think this is an opportunity for all of us to take this great information to all the schools. And this is where sustainability begins. Thank you.
Asante sana. For your benefit, George, if there's a question back there, and I believe I'd now have to kind of manage the time. I see you, sir, but there's one over there. For the filmmakers in the room, please raise your hand for the benefit of George, who just asked. Just raise your hand so he can locate you. It's also a networking session. Angalia nyuma, kuna mmoja kule nyuma, wawili hapo. There's Dr. Paula, there's several here in front. Sorry, and yes, and Joanne here, who's taken over, and any others. Yes, George, I think you've located them. You make the contact. It's about networking. That's the opportunity. We're at the back, sir, because this is our time for the conservation session, but I'll give the gentleman who has a mic to be last and to be second last, and the lady with the hand there. So you, then to a gentleman here with the glasses, and then the lady at the back, and that will be the last one. Sir, you're up next.
I'm Yatendra Agarwal. I have come from India. I Kenya Wildlife for inviting me.
Saidia na mic nyingine. Still off? You can just use that one. The next one.
Okay now? No.
That other one.
Is it okay? Yeah. So I'm Yatendra Agarwal. I've come from India. And I just want to thank Kenya Wildlife for inviting me. I've come with a very simple message. I have done a lot of work in India in remote areas, providing clean drinking water to many forest national parks, especially the ranger outposts, as well as very, very remote villages which are very poor. So whether the water has bacterial contamination, cholera, whether there is high salinity, there is high fluoride, please reach out.
That you as partners are feeling is so important that I cannot imagine conservation sector without Jim Nyamo, without Jagiga Kunju, without the rest of you, because we cannot be everywhere. Part of the fight that you fought in CITES is what is making the elephants in TSAVO get to 15,000. The $1 million question is, how many elephants can we sustain in the TSAVOs? If we don't entice the communities that are living with elephants, then they will do exactly what Trevor has shown us here. That people are going to destroy the things that we have been strictly been able to conserve. But above all, I appreciate you. Mike Nicholson is going to have an open door that, let us agree, is going to do a table of all the areas of collaboration. Then we fit. You've seen all the partners are there. Let everybody fit in where you can be able to support us. Right now, we don't need hand cash from you. We need commitments and works on the ground here. But like I showed you, we have a whole hand of audit, we have a hand of procurement. If you bring your money to KWS, it is safe. It will not disappear. That one I can promise you. The institutions and the systems that we have put in place are such that you can trust us back. You can trust us with not just your life, but with your resources. We will put it in the right place here. And I'm strong about that. So thank you so much. And I just received a message here from my CS. She has said hello, and she acknowledges the great work that you're doing as our conservation partners. Asante sana. Thank you.
Asante sana to our Director General. And just by the comment there that you made, we also need to appreciate your team, your directors, and the other management, because you've said, you know, you'd leave the office at 10 p.m., you'd still be on the lookout for whose other office is still on. So we have to appreciate. I can't imagine how it is working with the leadership such as DG, because the pressure is you normally don't leave before the boss. So if he's leaving at 10 p.m., I don't know if they just kept the lights on and they were there, or they were actually there putting in work in the hours. So we appreciate you. Let's give him a round of applause, Tafadhali. And thank you to our conservation partners for contributing with questions and comments. The door is open, and the session doesn't stop in terms of the interaction and being able to reach out to the team here at KWS and our partners, make the networking happen. And this, as you've mentioned, Bona DG, would be the point where I'd call on our CS to come on stage for the launch moment. As you've also, and Chair has given the apology, you will both be standing here as we launch alongside Bona Simon Trevor. So let's give a hand to those who will be standing here for the moment of the launch. So I'll call on Peter, if you could help me to help that upstage. Bona Simon Trevor, let's give him a hand as he comes back on stage for the launch moment of TSAVO, A Moment in Time, the docu-series. And Bona Chair, Lieutenant General, retired Bona Karibu. Rairia, Karibu. To our DG, you could stand on that side, because I'll have some stand on that side. That's good, sir. That's good. And I'll have some stand on this side, on this particular side here, so we can have the attention on the screen. And as we agreed, we'll have the first slide that we had on the 5-minute slot there of the video that was played in the presentation. So we'll have people stand on either side, so we can just free the space here, because we want to focus on this. Yeah, just pause it in the moment. Just pause it there. So we'll have some stand here as we're facing, because we want to have a photo op. There will be a bit of flame here, but it's just pyros, and we're going to count down. And I'll need your help as a conservation partners to do this. We will count down from 5 to 1, and at 1, that will set off the pyros, and we'll be focusing on this particular screen. I wanted us to look at the screen at the moment of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alafu mwanzo tukifika 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alafu tuona hapa pyros ikienda off and probably some music accompanying. I want us to do what we used to do for those who are old as I am. I'm hitting 40 this year. And we used to do, I don't know why you're laughing, 40 is quite an achievement. So mtafanya ile tukua fanya kitambo moja. Kwani I'm the only 40 plus old here. Thank you. So tusaidiane tena. Moja, mbili, tatu, funga, fungua, or the other way around. Anyway, so we're going to do the countdown as we look at the screen together. So I was hoping that we would all face this. And yes, kabla usicheze video, tutasema countdown vile tulikubaliana. So ladies and gentlemen, you'll count down alongside myself. So we'll go together, and then at the count of 1, that will set off the pyros, and we will start the Kofi Akilo as we celebrate the official launch of TSAVO, A Moment in Time. Thanks to the leadership of Bwana Simon Trevor and the team from AEF. This is your moment. Take all the pictures that you can and that you would wish. This is a moment. So ladies and gentlemen, let's count down together. Our partners in the room in 5. Let's count together. 4, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, the official launch of TSAVO, A Moment in Time. Let's all look at the screen. This is what many of us will be able to behold over time as it's released. And yes, tuanze na hiyo Kofi Akilo. Moja, mbili, tatu, funga, fungua, or the other way around. We appreciate, let's all stand in appreciation to the leadership of Bwana Simon Trevor and the AEF team. We have the filmmakers in the room. You know that this is no mean feat. This is a big achievement. The docu-series that will be available for all of us to consume and enjoy and appreciate. And this here that has been showcased as Bwana Trevor was making the presentation will be availed in due time. It is the moment. Let's give a resounding round of applause, Tafadhali. Don't tire, don't you tire. Asanteni, yes. Shukran sana, shukran Bwana Trevor. Sijui kama unataka kusema kitu ya mwisho in appreciation, one more thing. Could I hand you the mic? You just want to say asante?
Just thank you to all of you. All of you have done something. Nothing can ever be done without a team.
All right, the gentleman behind the camera, as soon as this goes down, is asking that we all do something symbolic, that perhaps as Bwana Simon Trevor raises his hand, we could all together, as he has advised, we hold his hand. So the 3 on this side, the 3 on this side, we hold his hand. So Bwana Simon Trevor, mtainua mkono hapo na mtainua mkono hapo, as we appreciate the effort that has gone years. Since the 70s, I believe even earlier, the work has gone into making this a reality, and we do appreciate the AEF team and those who are here who've put in the hours and the work. Asante sana. Bwana Trevor, you may have your seats. You may have your seats as well. Asanteni sana. Tumpe makofi akishuka stage, tafadhali msichoke. He's been at it since the 70s, filmmaking. Where were you since the 70s? So we do appreciate him, and of course handing over to the team in terms of the continuity. I hope you have 50 more to add and to give, Joanne. Yeah, you and team from AEF. I hope you have it in you. Asanteni sana kwenyu pia for the support and the guidance that you have given as we were getting into this launch moment, and to appreciate, I'd like to appreciate those who've been joining on the virtual platform on the KWS page, YouTube, and I see there's Raymond who was dialed in and watching, and we'd like to appreciate. If you haven't shared, you can share with the team, and you'll be able to follow everything from beginning to the end, what was shared here, because that will be posted on the YouTube page of KWS, the official YouTube page. So just go to KWS on YouTube and you will see that particular video uploaded. Once this is over, it is still live and you'll be able to share and perhaps just go back to something that you missed in the presentation that was made by Bona DG. At this point, I'd like to call on the Deputy Director Parks and Reserves, Captain Kenneth Ochieng, to give a vote of thanks. Let's give him a hand, tafadhali. Ama tumpe mziki, ni kama umeenda silent ndo umpe mziki. Unataka karibu, Bwana Kenneth. As you heard also, Bwana DG was responding to Dr. Paula saying there's an open door policy. You can reach out to Daktari, to Captain here, and he is open to partner and support our work. Karibu.
Asante sana, Mark. To our Director General, the board chair, board members, fellow colleagues, and all our stakeholders, hamjambo. Mine is going to be very brief. Ni kuwashukuru sana for having your time to join us in this wonderful celebration. Mzee Trevor here has been my very good friend. We worked with him in the TSAVOs, even the time he was involved in the production of this film. We collaborated very well. We gave him an opportunity to be able to reach out to some of those areas that were very critical in the production of the documentary. I want to say thank you very much, our partners, for your time. It's been a wonderful occasion. And as my DG had said, this is an opportunity to come together and be able to build KWS. We have a lot more of opportunities that each and every person has a space to contribute towards management of our wildlife in the entire republic. Challenges are there. They're quite a number, but I'm sure if you stand with us, as you've done today to join us in this celebration, we can really go far in the conservation of wildlife in this republic. I also want to say that our doors are open, as I had been said by my boss, through the director partnership. This is an opportunity for us now to engage further, collaborate, and look at where you have your strength, where you can contribute towards. He said, we do not need cash. We just need your presence. We just need your collaboration. We need the partnership so that then where we have gaps we are not able to fill, please come in handy. And I want to thank most of you who've had an opportunity for the past 2 years to engage us. And want to request many of you who have not been able to reach out, this is the right time. Thank you very much and God bless you. Asante.
Asante sana to Captain Kenneth Ochieng. And as we cue the national anthem, just to give it a good conclusion, I'd like to call on Chaplain just to come and give us a word of prayer after the national anthem, just the national anthem, the first stanza. And I'll ask us all to stand up for that as we close the session, and then we'll be going into lunch after the prayer. I will be giving guidance as to how we'll go about it. So, iko tayari? Asante sana.
Let us bow and pray. Our Heavenly Father, we wish to register our gratitude for your real presence, for all that we've asked since the beginning of this occasion till the end. Thank you for the gift of life. Thank you for the gift of one another. And in a very special way, Lord, we present to you the life of the legend of the masterpiece of your hands, who has documented the film on conservation of the TSAVO elephants. Father, bless Simon Trevor with the gift of life, the gift of wisdom, as he ages gracefully. Lord, grant him good health of mind, body, and soul. And in a very special way, Father, we also wish to dedicate to you the challenges that have been presented by the Director General, Kenya Wildlife Service, Professor Erastus Kanga, on the issue of wildlife conservation in Kenya. Father, we humbly beseech you to provide the solution, for we rely entirely on your divine providence and divine presence. Father, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Holy Spirit. As these great women and men who are willing to take the wheel of conservation forward, Father, grant each one of us good health. Protect our country. Protect the Kenyans. Protect our continent, Africa, so that we may remain dedicated stewards of wildlife conservation. You blessed us with these creatures and help us the grace and energy to make sure that these creatures will be found by other generations to come. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. Almighty Father, in a very special way, we also ask you to bless the meal that is ahead, so that as we partake, we may be able to gain energy to continue with the work of wildlife conservation, and in every place that we are serving humanity through the service that we are rendering. This we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen. And may God bless us all in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Asanteni.
Tumshukuru pia Brandad Emuria, KWS Chaplain. Asante kwa kutuongoza kwa maombi hapo mwanzo na mwisho. You may have your seats, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to, as we head out, I'm going to be giving it's a direction as to how we're being served by the Ole Sereni team that served us breakfast. They are on time and on standby to serve us lunch, which is when we were planning to break for lunch. There are 2 serving points right at this tent, and there are those who will be ushered as well to the tent right behind here. Mali wengi wameambiwa tukutane nyuma ya tent, and the chaperones and the team are on standby to guide them as well. There'll be music to enjoy in the background as you enjoy lunch. So you'll be having 2 serving points, the buffet area, and come back with your meal, enjoy it at your tables, and interact, network, make the contacts that we need as a conservation partners. And thank you for making this forum all the more worth it, because it wouldn't have been a forum if we didn't have invite of Bwana DG. And thank you for the leadership from the KWS Board of Trustees led by our chairman. Santeni sana kwa kutuunganisha hapa, and also kwa provide some lunch. Tunashukuru sana. Now we can break bread. It has been blessed. Thank you for making time for TSAVO, a moment in time. And that is something worth a while, and we appreciate Bwana Simon Trevor. He's going to be here with the team as well. I'm sure you want to take pictures and interact with his AEF team. Watakuwa hapa. Asanteni nyote. Enjoy lunch and have a good afternoon. My name is Mark Masai. I'm still available for direction in case you need any. Enjoy yourselves. Have a good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So yes, this is where you can head on for lunch. The 2 serving points at that tent, and the team that's here to chaperone our guests here to the tent at the back. Tafadhali kujeni mumpe mwelekeo. Tafadhali, they need your guidance and your leadership in that. Tafadhali njo, siogope. This is your moment. The team at Ole Sereni is on standby to serve us. There are 2 serving points, and they'll be showing us the direction to that. Enjoy lunch, ladies and gentlemen.
Will be there for us to see in these forums.